everybody, and this is your boy Chaco Zay, and this video particular is for the real adventurers. Guess where I just went? Antarctica. For the people who are a little geographically challenged, you're probably wondering, where is Antarctica? Antarctica is right here at the most southern tip of the world. Planning for Antarctica was actually really simple. Knowing that our summer and winter are inverted, the best time for us to travel to Antarctica is during the northern hemisphere's wintertime, because in the southern hemisphere it will be summer. So I planned my trip starting a couple weeks before Thanksgiving, and I ended my trip around December. For myself, with this experience, I just wanted to be immersed into going to the continent. So I went for about 9 days. However, there are longer excursions. So also, the crazy thing is telling my family, because they're thinking, oh my God, you're going so far away. So the best thing is to tell them that you are going on an adventure and tell them that this is an expensive trip. So that means that there's a lot of insurance that you make it back home safely. Knowing that I want to hit all 7 continents before I turn 30, I started planning. So I went on the internet and Googled, how do I get to Antarctica? There are a couple ways actually to get there. You can go via air, through a plane or a helicopter, or you can go through a boat. For my adventure purposes, I went via boat. I booked a flight. Typically I go on Google Flights and select my destinations, and I flew from Huntsville to Ushuaia. Fortunately, with my flight, I was able to get a day layover in Buenos Aires, which is a beautiful city. And I'll definitely make a short video about that city as well. But my final destination was actually Ushuaia, because we depart from Ushuaia, go through the Beagle Canal, then venture through the Drake Passage, and then arrive in Antarctica. Since I went 2 days early and 1 day later, I had to actually book a hotel in Ushuaia. Also, since I had a day at layover, I did book an Airbnb for 1 day. I strongly advise staying in Palermo in Buenos Aires, a very safe city, lots to do there as well. And that's where I booked my Airbnb. And then in Ushuaia, there's a couple different hotels. Las Cancanas is a hotel that's off the beach. It is beautiful. I'll show you a couple sites of the hotel as well. And that's what I booked as well for some of the lodging. Now, if you do choose to go with Polar Latitude Sea Adventures, which is the cruise line that I chose, they do put you in a hotel for 2 nights in the Acor, which is in the mountains in Ushuaia. Very nice scenery, and I'll show a couple videos of that as well. Now, with all those expenses together, so with the boat, there are a couple of different options. You have an option where you can room 3 to a room, an option where you can room 2 to a room, and an option where you can room 1. The 3 has a little porthole so you can see outside, the 2 has a window, and the 1 has a balcony that you can look out through a veranda. Now, the options do vary in price. So for my particular adventure, which we had a little more cost-efficient adventure since we were getting off of the COVID season, mine was maybe about $8,000 or $9,000 for 2 to a room. However, the cheaper option was actually about $5,000 or $6,000 for 3 to a room. And then the veranda was about $12,000 to $14,000 for just having the 1 room to yourself. So that's what you're looking at price range, maybe $5,000 to $14,000 for just being able to get on the boat. Now, if you would like to add kayaking, it would be an extra $900, which I strongly recommend the kayaking. Since I flew from a little bit smaller city, like Huntsville, the flight was a little bit more expensive because it was around $1,300, but I'm pretty sure you can probably get it close to $1,000 flying from anywhere in the state. So that's something to be mindful for. Along with purchasing those things, you also have to keep in mind purchasing insurance, because emergencies can cost a lot of money. That type of insurance could be about $500 to $600 for the insurance for the whole trip, and it covers if anything happens, and of course you will be able to get a refund. So with Antarctica being so cold, one of the most important things, what should you wear? So I'm going to go in layer order and with what I advise you to wear. So let's start off with from the head. So from the head, what I would say for the very base layer, having your climb. This was a lifesaver, and I gave one of the fellow boatmates one of these, and it made her experience so much better. So then let's go back down. I would also recommend maybe a scarf, something to cover your neck. This also will go around your neck, but it won't all the way cover your neck. So there may be some exposure to your neck to let some of the cold in. Also for your hands, I would look for gloves that would allow you to touch a touch screen if you need to touch your phone or your camera or something of that nature that has a touch screen. Then I would recommend having a merino wool long sleeve shirt. Strongly recommend, and I purchased this actually on Amazon. I have a couple of them embroidered with the Chago gear as well, to represent, of course. Then, as we move down, I would suggest athletic boxers or undergarments for the males and something similar for the women. And then we also move down, we go one layer up. Then I would suggest some merino wool pants as well, okay? Then we go down, get some merino wool socks, okay? All the merino wool, the technology is phenomenal. It kept me warm the whole time in those crazy temperatures, especially during the blizzard. And then lastly, for the base layer, some insoles. Really important for when you're wearing your boots, having these insoles. It will make a life changer for that. Now that we've covered the base layer, let's go into the mid layer. So now let's think of up top. Now, this would be technically maybe even like the outer shell along with the mid layer, but you can wear one of these as well. It keeps your ears and head extremely warm, okay? Also, for if we're going down, maybe like a sweatshirt of some of that nature, that would be a great mid layer as well above the merino wool. Now, depending on how cold it actually is, this will be more of an optional. If you're also very, very warm in nature, you may not necessarily need this for the lighter temperatures. Now, of course, the deeper you go into Antarctica, you may want to consider some heavier layers, okay? Now, for the actual mid layer, I would suggest maybe a fleece. So here I have one of my Chaco fleeces. The fleece will keep you warm. I would suggest maybe one size up on the fleece, just in case if you do need to use a sweatshirt along with your mid layer, okay? Then we go down above your merino wool undergarments, some fleece pants. This is just to secure some more heat down there for you as well, okay? Then as we go down to the socks, maybe some thermal socks. So make sure that they're maybe one size up just a bit way if you're not too tight. Definitely wear some of the gear before you go. This one will be more outer shell, and this is optional as well, depending on how cold it is. These will be mittens. So you will put these over those touchscreen gloves for more severe weather, or if you run cold a little bit more easy. So one thing I did forget about with the mid layer is maybe a jacket similar to this. Look for the puffer jackets that has down material. This material is really good for wind resistance and also keeping in the heat. That's something I strongly advise for a mid layer if you do not go the fleece option. And of course you can wear this over your sweatshirt or fleece as well. And again, for even this jacket, I would advise to have maybe one size up or two sizes up, depending on how sizes fit on you. So now let's move on to the outer shell. While you're out there, it's going to be very important that you have goggles, or you can wear your classic shades. So the important thing as to why I advise having goggles or shades is because of the UV lights. So the sun refracting off of the snow can strongly affect your eyes. So it's strongly advised to actually have eye protection. Some of my peers actually had red lines in their eyes because they did not wear their shades or sunglasses. So please, please wear shades or sunglasses, okay? Then let's go to your outer shell. So your outer shell, you should have a Gore-Tex jacket. If you're going shopping, look for outer shell jackets, okay? Then having waterproof pants, okay? So you'll have your merino wool, then your fleece, and then your waterproof pants. This is, of course, you want to have your outer shell as water resistant as possible. Now, if you do tend to run a whole lot more cold quickly, then I would suggest even having a bib, okay? And then lastly, which they provided as well for us, some boots, some water-resistant boots. Bog makes some great boots, so these will be a great example of some waterproof boots. This is a necessity for when you're walking around in the snow and also for support. So now that we know what to wear, let's talk about things to bring and what not to bring actually. While we're still on the topic of clothes, one thing to keep in mind, since you will be on a boat, I would not advise overpacking. If it's possible, try to see if you can get all of your clothes in one luggage, along with maybe a traveler-sized backpack that's pretty large, or maybe one other duffel bag or something of that nature. Because the key thing is you have to remember, you will be in transit. So something to not also to bring is drones. Unfortunately, it's illegal for you to bring drones in Antarctica. Now, depending on what cruise line, and I don't want to advocate to break any rules, but sometimes people may have permits, or if you do have a permit, you may be able to speak to coordinators on can you fly your drone if you have a permit. Now, some cameras that made my experience pretty great, of course the iPhone 14, which is what I'm recording on right now. iPhone 14 actually took excellent photos and videos. Now also what made my experience easy, because sometimes it's easy to kind of switch between phones, especially if you're running low on battery. Speaking of battery, you should bring you a portable charger. When you're out and about, let's say you're doing a lot of video recording, having a powerful portable charger is crucial. Make sure you bring the dry bag as well, because a lot of the portable chargers are not waterproof, and bags, the whole purpose is to keep your things dry inside the bag, okay? So some of the cameras I would suggest, maybe going with the GoPro. GoPro is, of course, lightweight, easy to carry, you can put it in your pocket. Also, it gives you the flexibility of not having a bulky camera. Now, I would strongly advise if you're really into photography or cinematography, of course, bring your professional grade camera and you can pack it in your dry bag. So now one other cool thing about packing the GoPro is being able to use some of the different mounts. So for instance, for some of my videos, I was able to use my chest mount. When I was kayaking, I was able to really get the whole experience by putting this strap on, mounting my GoPro, and taking video. Also, it gave me the flexibility of being able to take video off my wrist. So I was able to kind of use my GoPro, put it on my wrist, and take video. And then also there's a head strap that I could not find for this video that you can mount it on there. Also another camera I would strongly suggest is the 360, and it did a phenomenal job for my trip. The cool thing about this camera, it has a lens on both sides, so you can take video and photos. So if you have a VR headset, you can play it back all over again for the full experience. Now, with having these type of cameras, you may want to have moments where you want to maybe do a time lapse, or just record a video, or let's say if you want to record a moment for your 360 video, you should definitely have a sturdy, durable camera mount. Make sure it's metal, not plastic, and very, very durable. Do not cheap out on the mount, because it will affect your experience if it breaks. So one thing I would suggest for the GoPro and the 360 camera, having backup batteries. And also with all these different cameras, you may want to consider having an SD card. I would strongly recommend having maybe a 512 to 1 terabyte SD card, just so that way you can continuously capture content and not worry about switching out. The thing I will talk to you about is the elephant in the room, the Drake Passage. Unfortunately, I don't care how strong you are, the Drake Passage can expose you. On my very first night, I actually got pretty intoxicated with some of my fellow boatmates, and I threw up about 5-6 times the next day. I could not get out of bed. It was such a terrible experience the first day we were going through the Drake Passage. I was warned by my peers, but I thought I was young, I work out, no, the Drake Passage will expose you. Now, to prevent what I experienced, here's a couple things I would suggest. First thing, do not drink alcohol before you go through the Drake Passage. You're not going to have a clear mind, and then also with the waves, it's going to make you more and more dizzy, okay? Second thing, have your Dramamine. Now, there is also passages you can take, which passages I would advise, but I would suggest just to keep it simple, take your Dramamine. It's advised before you go on the Drake Passage, maybe close to a day or 12 hours before you actually are fully at sea. The Beagle Canal is fine. The Drake Passage is where your concern is. If you forget to take your Dramamine, or you take Dramamine but your tolerance to the seasickness outweighs Dramamine, laying horizontal is very, very important, okay? But also with laying horizontal, you should definitely drink ginger ale. It helps with the nausea, but also eat crackers or bread, things to kind of keep the fluids that are in your stomach from coming up. If you're feeling really sick, just lay down. Try your best to eat, and then drink ginger ale or some type of ginger, eat some type of ginger chew for the nausea. It's one of my favorite things about this overall experience. First was the off the grid, being one with myself and not being on social media, internet, or anything. We were allotted, I think, about 250 megabytes internet. So we had to use that wisely, or you had to pay $100 for 1 gig. Second one thing was the animals, seeing the penguins, seeing the whale tails, seeing the seals, seeing all the different birds. It was beautiful. The ice and the landscape and the scenery were breathtaking. And I think that the people that I met, that was one of my favorite parts, because it was people from all over the world that has different reasons for traveling. So to wrap it all up, it was nice to be able to have an open bar, and they had buffet style food. So it was food from all over the world. We had Indian dishes, German dishes, American dishes, all sorts. So it was well catered, high-end liquor for the bar. We had breakfast, lunch, and dinner every day, and snacks. And what I learned from Antarctica and being around the people that do so many amazing things, that I am amazing myself. This is not to come off narcissistic, but this is just being confident and such. And I think that one thing about this experience really allowed me to tap into what made me feel special. Being able to bring people together. And one thing I like to do, I love to connect people. So by the end of the trip, everyone was a big wholesome family, which that's what made the trip even better. I just wanted to get to know everyone and learn their perspective and their story. Would I say that Antarctica is worth it? It was beyond worth it. Thank you for watching the video. Please subscribe and like this video and share it with all your friends. If you have a chance, go to Antarctica, broaden your horizons, get out of your comfort zone. One of the biggest reasons why I travel like this solo is to get myself out of my comfort zone and to learn more about myself without my peers influencing my experience. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time. Stay chocolate cake.